Welcome to Cardinals Cover 2 with Craig Grialou and Mike Jurecki. Cardinals Cover 2 is brought to you by Arizona Cardinals Podcasts. Visit azcardinals.com/podcasts. From Cardinals headquarters, here's Craig Grialou and Mike Jurecki.
Well, the Josh Rosen era is officially underway. Practice today and all eyes on number 3, at least for the 20 or so minutes the media was allowed to watch. And yes, I don't know how much you can gauge from the 20 minutes that we saw, but hey, he's out there. He is QB1, as they say, and he will make his first career start on Sunday against the Seattle Seahawks. And that is basically the news of the day. I mean, seriously, MJ, everyone was waiting for this, and here it is come week 4.
Yeah, I didn't think it would happen this early in the season. Obviously, they're looking for a spark, but he was slinging it around during the open portion of practice. Now, obviously, when you get in team stuff, it's a little bit different. They're showing,
and that's what we don't see.
Right, they're showing the Seattle Seahawks defense and what he's facing here. But, you know, the 24-hour rule is in full effect. I guess we're 48 hours removed from Monday. And there is energy in that locker room. And I've covered 3 and 13 teams. I've covered 4 and 12 teams. I mean, I think Steve Wilkes does a really good job keeping these guys focused. And, you know, he brought up some interesting things today in the media saying, you know, in the team meeting this morning, he went and showed these guys the plays in the game, the good plays, and they also wants corrections on the bad plays and how they synced up in practice. So you do it in practice, it carries over to the football field. But I do like the energy of this football team. Now, they are starving for a win, though.
It's almost like they've reset, and I've used that before here on this show. Not that they've forgotten about the first 3 games, but a new quarterback, as you mentioned, has kind of brought about a new sense of urgency and energy and excitement. Despite the record, this team is feeling good heading into a game.
Now, I saw you today walking around talking to players. What was he like in the huddle? Did you get any reaction or feedback?
Oh, I will, and I'm glad you brought that up because that is coming up here on Cards Cover 2. Absolutely.
Right there,
yeah, I'm teasing you, and we'll get to that here. But before we do that, let's take off on this Wednesday, and here's what's ahead on the show today. We will hear from the Cardinals' new starting quarterback. Then we'll give you exclusive access inside the Cardinals Film Room. Folks, this has become must-see, must-listen on Cards Cover 2. Kyle Odegard of azcardinals.com will join us a little bit later on. And, of course, your questions via social media.
And not only does Kyle do a great job, and we got great feedback in the last couple of weeks, he also got a chance to talk to Dale Buchanan today. So we're going to have to ask him, you know, where Buck's at. I know he's an emotional guy. It's got to be disappointing, but he is getting an opportunity on special teams, and he's just waiting for his name to be called. He only played 1 snap and Reddick 4 snaps, and I don't know if that's going to change. So we got a lot of things to discuss with Kyle Odegard.
It is a busy Wednesday, but first the news of the day aside from Josh Rosen, and 4 players did not practice according to head coach Steve Wilkes as of right now here as we talk to you on Wednesday at 3:08 in the afternoon. The injury report has not been officially released, so we're going off of what coach had to say. And 4 players: Larry Fitzgerald due to a hamstring, Robert Kimdichie a knee, Corey Peters an elbow, and Andre Smith an elbow did not practice, though a couple of notes on this. One, there was a follow-up question to Wilkes about Fitz, and it's not serious. In fact, Fitz, during the open portion of practice, actually went through team stretch and position drills, but he did so without a helmet, leading everyone to believe that he was going to be at least limited. But as far as team stuff, it appears now, based off what Wilkes said, that he did not do anything. But Wilkes said, quote, Fitzgerald is fine, just wanted to give him another day because of that hamstring.
Yeah, and I anticipate this is going to be, you know, throughout the season. I mean, listen, you got to take care of your veteran guys. You know, a couple of years ago, even last year, it was Carson Palmer, it was Frosty Rutger. You know, Larry, listen, he's in the meetings, he's getting mental reps out there. You know, the main thing is get his body right, considering it's his 15th year, and they need him. Last week, I think he was nursing the hamstring injury and maybe didn't have the same acceleration and separation, so I'm not worried about Larry. He'll show up on game day.
The other 3 injuries, not serious. Smith, we know, has missed the past 2 games. Some good news, though. Olsen Pierre, who also has missed the past 2 games, was at practice during the open portion. How much he did, again, we'll have to wait until the official injury report. But that is good news to have Pierre at least on the field. versus in the training room.
Yeah, and he could be on a snap count because clearly he's been on the shelf for a while, so he's got to get into football condition. But we talk about that rotation. We're going to get into Robert Nkemdiche and how well he's played. And then you look at Corey Peters and then Rodney Gunter. So you want to have that four-man rotation and you keep some guys fresh. But there's really not a drop-off when you start looking at that.
And, of course, with Marcus Golden as well, maybe gaining some extra reps for him after he was on a snap count in Week 3. All right, Week 4, let's talk about it. Josh Rosen will be your starting quarterback. And the question to Coach Wilks here this afternoon, just how much do you put on his plate here as a first-time starter?
We just got to make sure that we're giving Josh what he can handle. And Josh is a very smart guy, did a tremendous job today, and a lot of things that we were doing, we threw a lot at him from a standpoint of the install. Great job at the line of scrimmage, checking and getting us in the right call, from a standpoint of protections with the blitzes, those kind of things as well. So I thought he looked good today.
And I don't think, MJ, we're going to get a lot as far as what we want to hear, like as far as specifics. How is this going to be different with Rosen versus Sam Bradford? And I think we can all now just guess that because of Rosen's athleticism, mobility, maybe some more rollouts, some play action, stepping up in the pocket, just doing things differently. But I don't think you're going to hear anyone say, whether it's Wilks, Rosen, or Mike McCoy when he speaks to the media on Thursday, that this is what we envision this offense to look like. I think we just have to go back to what we saw in the preseason.
Yeah, and I understand that. I mean, everything you pointed out is 100% correct. I mean, but I'll tell you this. Regardless of what happens with Rosen, David Johnson, the wide receivers, the offensive line has to do a much better job. And just watching some film over the last couple of days, and maybe it's dating back to Week 1, they are facing a really good front four and front sevens, and including this week. I know that they don't have their star players from the Legion of Boom in the secondary, but they still got Bobby Wagner. Teams are getting pressure up the middle.
Yes.
And that doesn't allow the quarterbacks to step up in the pocket, the Tom Brady rules.
You want that pocket,
yes.
And instead it's just one big push up the middle.
Yes, because I'm not saying you allow the pass rushers to get to the edge, but you try to seal the edge, and then your quarterback can step up in the pocket. Now, his mobility, again, I agree with that. RPOs, read pass option, I think we're going to see a little bit of that. We could see two running backs in the backfield, and then one goes in motion. So I'm not saying they're going to open up the entire playbook, but you got to play to his strengths. He can throw the ball down the field. He's accurate. Now, there are times he tries to squeeze it in there, tight windows, and in the NFL, sometimes those balls get picked off. But I just think with his mobility and his accuracy and his arm strength, he should be able to get out of the pocket and buy some time. I'm not going to compare him to any of these other quarterbacks. It's a work in progress. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs, hopefully more ups and downs. There's going to be growing pains, and I'm sure the Seattle Seahawks are licking their chops to go after a rookie quarterback. So, but I don't think it's too big for him. And he's very confident, and the teammates are confident about his ability.
And we'll see as far as what exactly they throw out as far as the offense is concerned, because there will be plays, and Rosen talked about this, that he likes, and we'll see more of, or variations of similar plays, because that's what he's most comfortable with, and that's what you want. You want your quarterback to be comfortable with the plays that are being called from the sidelines. Now, once Wilks spoke, in fact, it was actually Josh Rosen who stepped first to the mic after practice, and, of course, all the questions, and everyone wants to know, hey, you're the starting quarterback. What's it feel like?
Same mindset every week. I prepared every single week up to this point as if I was a starter, because anything can happen, and something has happened. So I always doesn't change my preparation. I'm always balls to the wall all the time. For the most part, I'm just trying to complete balls to the receivers, get the ball moving down the field, maybe extend plays a little bit, use my brain. I think I'm a pretty good overall quarterback, and I'm looking forward to getting in the field.
He's very even-keeled, doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low, but there was a follow-up question about the announcement, or when he was told that he was going to be the starting quarterback. Now, the keys have been handed to you, young man. This offense is now yours. What were your emotions?
Yeah, maybe a little bit, but, I mean, for the most part, just got back off of practice, so I'm trying to focus and do what I got to do.
And that right there, whether you either saw it or hear it, that's what we saw and heard in the offseason, in training camp, in preseason. Whenever Rosen spoke, that's how he acted. I mean, he doesn't let you in too much but he does speak very confidently, very clearly. And as you talked about, this moment right here, there's only 32 quarterbacks in the NFL. He's one of them. Now, there's 3 other rookies as well that will all be making their starts this weekend. But you would expect maybe, I don't know what I was expecting, but a hint of a smile or something like that. But it was just like this Wednesday, September 26th, was no different than last week, the week prior, last month, 3 months ago. Just another day. And so what? I'm the starting quarterback, and I'll be ready on Sunday.
Yeah, I think that's a good observation. And I think he's been told to tone it down a little bit, just focus on the Cardinals. Now, Steve Wilkes did say, I want him to be himself, but our focus is the Arizona Cardinals. All that other stuff, when you get to the facility, you don't want those things to become distractions. Now, Sam Darnold started in week 1. Allen got an opportunity, started the week 2. So the 2 quarterbacks starting their first games is Baker Mayfield and Josh Rosen. Listen, this guy was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, okay? He challenged the UCLA coaching staff to change the offense at least 3 different times, and it could have been based on maybe injuries, and he wanted to run a pro-style offense. And, there's a story out there, we're probably going to get into it on Friday, of how he actually met with Chip Kelly, and because Chip Kelly became the new head coach, and he thought, did you know this, that he grew up an Eagles fan?
That I did not know. Considering he's from Southern California and you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan, there's got to be some connection to that Philadelphia, a family member or friend or whatever.
And the reason why I bring it up is he was a big fan of Chip Kelly.
Absolutely.
And he's thinking now he did have a shoulder injury, did not play in the bowl game, and I think once you get to that point, he was getting ready for the draft. But he said he didn't want to make an emotional decision, but he met with Chip Kelly, and then he obviously made his decision to declare to come in the NFL draft. But he grew up as an Eagles fan, and obviously Chip Kelly was very successful with Nick Foles. What was it, 27/2 touchdown to interception ratio? So, yeah, I didn't know he was an Eagles fan.
Yeah, that was interesting. And, again, he made the decision to come out, but I don't know how close, but he very well could have been preparing for a college game this week as opposed to an NFL game.
Kind of reminds me of Matt Barkley when he had the shoulder injury and he went back to school and he dropped in the draft. He was in the conversation to be the first overall pick. Now you get into what you prefer. Obviously, you got to give John Dorsey a lot of credit. He was in Kansas City last year, moved up and got Patrick Mahomes. He drafts Mayfield. The Jets move up. They get Darnold. Buffalo moves up. They get Allen. The Cardinals move up and get Rosen. So I think knowing that you're going to be a first, second, or third quarterback off the board, I think it's hard to come back to school. Maybe your heart's not into it, and that's why I think it was important that he mentioned he didn't want to make an emotional decision.
This stage is not too big for Rosen, as we discussed, but he is certainly getting a lot of help. He is asking questions, and he is leaning on those other guys in the quarterback room, Sam Bradford, Mike Lennon. I'll even throw in Byron Leftwich, the quarterback's coach. He has people that now he can turn to and help so he can be successful on Sunday.
I definitely lean on the other quarterbacks in the room, and Byron has helped me a ton, Coach McCoy as well. So, it definitely is an adjustment, but I usually study pretty hard through high school and college, and I think they're helping me study smarter, not harder.
And to the point about the asking why.
He's from that why generation.
It's something that has been tagged on him from day one leading into the draft. It was looked at as a negative. For whatever reason, I don't quite understand that, because before you do something at a certain age, now when you're a youngster and a teenager, you get told something, you do it because your elders tell you. But at some point, I want to know why you're telling me to go over there or do that. What's not what it's in it for me, but why do I do this? Why will this make me successful if I do what you told me?
Yeah, I'm paraphrasing, but he said if he's not comfortable to play, he's not going to run it.
In fact, let's hear that exact quote from Josh Rosen about asking questions, and a lot of them.
I will not run a play on a football field unless I know why we're running it and what we're trying to accomplish. And that's just kind of how I function. I don't run a 4.5, so if things go bad, I can't just hit the exit button. So that's, I like to understand a playbook in its entirety.
He ran a 4.9. Doesn't matter how far can you run for the first down.
But
get out of bounds.
His point is the fact that I can't I can't rely on my quickness or elusiveness
But he has
when a play breaks down
Yes.
to kind of improvise. He can, but he needs to know where certain guys line up, whether on offense, my teammates, or where certain defensive guys are lining up, so he can check off if he needs to or adjust on the fly.
And there's a fine line of running and letting the play develop. Let the receivers get open. But he has the ability to shuffle inside and outside the pocket, and he's a much better thrower to his right side. Now, I notice in off-season workouts, I think for any quarterback, when you're throwing across your body and the way the coverage is in the NFL, you got to be careful. So I think if they roll him out now, there are times these teams are going to rush him from the right side, and he's going to have to roll out left. But if you watch him in practice, even in off-season workouts and training camp, when he rolls to his right, he has the ability to not only look through his progressions, and I mentioned this before, when Mark Trestman was the offensive coordinator with Jake Plummer, they want to simplify things for Jake. So they would cut the field in half, and then you have your receivers dragged to the sideline. So I think that he can make some plays with his legs, but once again, slide or get out of bounds because he does have a slight frame.
You mentioned the offensive line, and remember in the offseason, that first day, because Sam Bradford was not taking reps, they were being very limited with him, and Mike Lennon had gotten sick. So what happens? Well, the rookie gets thrown in there, steps into the huddle. What's he say? He introduces himself to the offense. Hi, I'm Josh Rosen. And it kind of...
Did they have a name tag on?
It kind of relaxed everyone, according to several of the offensive linemen. So I went around and I asked Justin Pugh.
Oh, this is your tease.
Here's my
coming up.
story.
All right, let's go.
I went and asked Justin Pugh, did Josh say anything or do anything when he walked into the huddle with 4:31 to go in the ball game on Sunday? And Justin just like, you know what? I don't think so. And he yelled across the room to Mason Cole. And Mason's got a big smile on his face. And he couldn't remember what he said, but he goes, Josh, he was just giddy. I was like, giddy? It's like, yeah, he was giddy. The man with 4:31 on the clock, down 2, your first NFL experience, happy to be in that moment, had a smile on his face. And once again, I think the stage wasn't too big. He didn't come in anxious, didn't come in nervous. He was prepared, regardless of the situation. And it's what you say. When you are the backup, you are one snap away. Always be prepared, and Rosen was.
See, I look at this two ways. We know that he was getting first-team reps last week. Of course, we talked about possibly there were some national reports that he could come in at halftime, depending on how Bradford was playing. They allowed Bradford to come out for the third quarter. But now you have an entire week to prepare. You obviously have input on some of the plays that you like, they like, and what the team likes. Now he's got an entire week to think about it. So and when he came into the game, he was smiling. Like half the team was patting him on the head.
He headbutted every single offensive lineman before they went out.
But he was smiling. So, but I do think there's going to be a point when we get to Sunday, though, that he's prepared all week, but now you're going against a different team, and it's a lot different. But I think he's up for the challenge. I think he's confident about his ability. And like I said yesterday, I thought Bradford gave this team the best chance to win, but I don't think Sam is as confident as Josh Rosen.
Well, the confidence, not only is he self-confidence, but the confidence kind of it makes everyone – Rosen's confidence kind of makes everyone else feel confident in Rosen's ability, if that makes sense. They feed off of that. In fact, that is something that Coach Wilkes addressed when asked about this confidence that Rosen seems to always have since he arrived.
He has a lot of confidence, and you saw that when he went into the game this past week, and you see it each and every day when he's out there, particularly today. So the guy does a tremendous job commanding the huddle. Guys respect him. You can tell they're feeding off his energy. So I just want him to go in there and relax and have fun. It's still football.
And if you're not confident in what you're doing, the guy next to you is going to know it. And part of that is body language and how you carry yourself. But certainly that confidence, you're ready. And everyone else better be ready too, because I'm leading the charge here.
Well, again, it all comes down to the offensive line, and we got to see more creativity from the play caller, Mike McCoy. I mean, it's just not Rosen, okay? Christian Kirk has stepped up. I think Ricky Seals-Jones obviously is a better pass-catching tight end than a blocker. Gresham has no interest in catching passes. Now, to me, it's an easy throw. He threw the ball over the field. He caught the pass. But it really comes down to the offensive line, and they have to protect him because you're going to lose confidence if you're getting hit and you're feeling rushed on your throws. When he's comfortable and confident, he'll be able to make those throws. And one thing I'm really looking forward to is the intermediate routes and throwing the ball down the field. So
take some shots.
Take some shots. You may get a PI call. J.J. Nelson's good there. I think Ricky Seals-Jones showed his ability, and Christian Kirk, yards after catch. I'm big on the intermediate routes because then I like yards after catch. But he has the arm strength to throw the ball down the field. And if you want to drop 8 in the box, we're going to play chess all day.
The interesting wrinkle in all of this is if you're in Seattle and trying to figure out, okay, what does Josh Rosen do? Well, there's not a ton of tape on Rosen, whether the preseason he didn't play the last 2 games
snaps.
and then on Sunday he was only in there for 13 snaps against the Bears. So if you're Seattle head coach Pete Carroll, what do? Well, you try to figure things out. You try to figure out what the Cardinals do best, and then you insert Rosen into the mix. But even before Rosen arrived as the Arizona Cardinals number 10th overall pick, Pete Carroll very familiar with the UCLA quarterback.
No, he's tremendously skilled. He's always been able to. He's a great all-around athlete. He's got timing and arm strength and accuracy and multiple, throw abilities to throw the ball in different positions and things like that. He's a classic first-round pick to me. I think he's really good.
Don't forget, we've got your exclusive access inside the Arizona Cardinals Film Room coming up, and your questions via social media, #CardsCover2. That's using the number 2. We do it every show, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here from the Cardinals facility in Tempe. Craig Grialou and Mike Jurecki. And when you look at Rosen here, the first-round draft pick, starting quarterback, right? Christian Kirk, second-round draft pick, starting wide receiver. Third-round draft pick, Mason Cole, starting center. How about that? And then you add in Chase Edmonds.
And they only had 6 draft picks, and Chris Campbell didn't make it, and Corey Cunningham's more of a depth guy. He hasn't been active on game day. He's being patient, but he could be your swing tackle next year.
You've got 3 starters, 4 offensive weapons, if you will, that now will be very much involved on Sunday. And here we are talking about week 4, your 2018 rookie draft class. And how many times have we looked at past draft classes wondering, where are they? They're either not here or they're on the sideline. But this 2018 draft class could go down as an all-time great if everything lines up and proceeds as we expect and hope. Certainly the front office hopes so. But you're looking at the future right now.
Yeah, and Kirk definitely was part of the equation when they drafted him. We didn't know if he'd be 2, 3, or 4. Mason Cole, because of Shipley got injured, he's been in there. And then you throw Chase Edmonds. I know Kirby Wilson, the running backs coaches, really likes him. They liked him right when they got back from the combine. The thing is, though, you and I were talking about this earlier, and you brought up the Marcus Golden and David Johnson draft.
That was pretty good, too.
It was. You get 2 instant starters, 2 core players that you like to extend. They already extended Johnson, and we'll see what happens with Golden based on his production, but I think he's part of the future. So this is quite the contrary from previous years. I would say if you look at Steve Keim's draft, on paper, now they got to perform. It's a long career. We'll judge these guys the next couple of years, but this year was one of his better drafts.
The Cardinals host the Seahawks on Sunday, 1:05 from State Farm Stadium. 8:30 a.m. is the pregame coverage on the Arizona Cardinals radio network. And if you want to know where to watch, listen, and follow the game, just go to azcardinals.com/game-central. And, of course, on game day, there's a live blog with play-by-play updates, scoring summary, box score, countdown to kickoff, video highlights, game-related content, all on azcardinals.com/game-central. So we've talked a lot about the offense, but the defense certainly has, we talk about former draft classes. How about one of the bigger names that we're waiting to see and maybe perhaps now is starting to turn that corner, and that is Robert Nkemdiche. He is stacking performances from week 1 to week 2 to week 3. The strip sack he had in this late first quarter on Sunday, Corey Peters was able to fall on that football, but you're now all of a sudden seeing Robert Nkemdiche, maybe that light bulb has gone on, and maybe more than anything else, the man is healthy, aside from missing practice here today, but he has not missed a ton of snaps, and that's something that you couldn't always say about him.
Yeah, and we're going to get into the actual play, and Kyle's going to break it down for us. He is making more impact plays. We talk about splash plays on offense. He's making more impact plays, and The thing is, he's healthy. He's been disruptive. He's been explosive. And I think he's confident. And I think this coaching staff, when they came in here, they gave him a clean slate. And, maybe Brinson Buckner and him didn't see eye to eye on some things, but he got a clean slate, and he's making the most of his opportunity. And he could be a difference maker for this team. Now, again, he's never going to fill up the stat sheet with sacks. He should get some tackle for losses. He should get some pressures. He should get some quarterback hits. You know how I feel about hurries, pressures, and knockdowns. They lead to turnovers.
10 tackles, 2 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, and a forced fumble. And more importantly, he has played almost 74% of the defense's snaps here in 2018, and that is important because it's always been difficult to find 9-0 on the field during his first couple of seasons. But he has certainly been on the field and impressing. As we go inside the Arizona Cardinals film room, Kyle Odegard of azcardinals.com joins us right now. We do it every Wednesday here on Cards Cover 2. And Kyle, this is certainly one of those plays that we've been waiting to see, and now we're all of a sudden seeing it on a more consistent basis. But here it is specifically. First quarter, Bears had a 3rd and 7 from their own 27 with 1:53 left. Cardinals with the lead, and things looking very, very good. But this play specifically, what stood out to you?
Yeah, I think obviously it's mostly just an individual play by Robert Kimdichie, something where he had a one-on-one matchup and he has to win it, and he did, and it became a big play. That's something that they've been talking about with him since he was drafted, and it's so important when you have a first-round pick for them to just dominate with their talent, and he did it. I think if you look at the very beginning of the play, they decided to run a stunt where the 2 defensive ends circled in and came on into the inside, so it kind of cleared up the outside because they blitzed both Bené Benwickery and Budda Baker on the side. So they wanted to give those guys a little bit of room to maneuver. We've seen Budda Baker make some big-time sacks. My mind immediately goes back to Houston when he came around, got the strip sack of, I think, Tom Savage at the time. Great individual play. So they want to give those guys room, and it's not necessarily designed for Robert Kimdichie to dominate on this play, but he did get the one-on-one setup, and it was nice for him to show his ability, his athleticism, and for it to work out for them. I think his ability to get there, and even though Kyle Long shoved him, he was able to just get his arm over, barely slap the arm of Mitchell Trubisky. But Robert Kimdichie is so powerful, he's so strong that it made him lose the grip on the ball. It was funny. I was talking to Corey Peters.
I read this.
I go up to him, and I was like, hey, I want to break down the play of Robert Kimdichie's forced fumble. And obviously Corey Peters recovered it. He goes, which play? I said, Robert Kimdichie's forced fumble. And he's just looking at me, and I showed him the slide of Robert Kimdichie slapping Trubisky's arm. He goes, oh, I didn't even know he hit the ball out. I thought he just dropped it. So you can tell it was, we barely got the arm, but he got it, and it was impressive.
All right, based on your story, which you can go to azcardinals.com. It's up there right now, including the graphic and the film session. Patrick Peterson, why was he so involved, or why him being in the
hidden importance?
The importance part. He was in the equation there. Talk about that.
And if you look, at one point, Mitchell Trubisky looks to his right, and it's not a complete pump fake, but he brings his arm up, and you can tell he's ready to throw, and it's Taylor Gabriel that's kind of sneaking out into the flat. It was 3rd and 7, so I'm not sure if he didn't throw it because he knew it wouldn't be a first down,
sure,
or because he saw Patrick Peterson lurking. And when you see number 21, even though there was a little bit of room, Patrick Peterson can close that gap so quickly. And if you don't get enough mustard on that pass, that's a pick six waiting to happen. So I think that might have been going through Trubisky's mind, where I don't want to try this because Patrick Peterson might get a jump on this ball and get a touchdown out of it. So that forced him to reconsider, and that let Kimdichie come through and get the strip sack.
I got to think this happens weekly when it comes to Patrick Peterson.
Right.
Now, obviously, if you have a number 1 wide receiver, you got to trust maybe a back shoulder fade. But the fact is, he's blitzed a few times off the edge. Now, I know he wasn't, he was more in coverage here, but I think that has to be the case with every quarterback every week.
Yeah, I think everybody's always watching out for him, and it's something where, you look offhand, he's not involved in the play at all.
Sure.
But then when you play it back and realize that teams are always aware of what he's doing, where he is, and it's a good angle of watching him right here where he was sitting on it, and I still can't tell. I talked to him briefly. He's like, yeah, I probably would have picked that off, but he's a confident guy.
Expect him to say.
Yeah. I mean, he's the type of guy that you have to game plan for, always know where he is. They did actually target him quite a few times in this game, but when you're not quite sure, and it just makes a quarterback indecisive, and that little second of I don't want to throw this ball, that gave Kimdichie the avenue he needed.
And I think that's important, that extra half second, split second, or whatever, that the coverage unit, now all of a sudden those guys up front, whether it's Jones, Golden, or in this case Kimdichie winning one-on-one matchups, now you're getting that pressure on the quarterback and forcing either the ball out or sacking the quarterback.
It all works together, and on this particular play, they're blitzing 6 guys, which means they have one-on-one coverage everywhere with one safety. So obviously that safety can only pick one guy to help, and everybody else is just man-to-man. Peterson did a nice job. Antoine Bethea was in coverage. I'd imagine Jamar Taylor was the cornerback on the other side in coverage. So all those guys contributed to it, and it is something where it's always the synergy of the guys up front getting the pressure and the guys on the back end holding up long enough to allow them to get there. And this was a play where it worked out perfectly.
All right, we've been talking about Kimdichie, and he's finally healthy. I know he's on the injury report, but he's expected to play on Sunday. What have you seen from him? We've used the word disruptive, explosion, tackle for losses. He's winning one-on-one matchups. Kyle Long is a Pro Bowl guard. Right. Okay, he's one of the better guards in the league. What's your scouting report? What have you been able to see?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think he's at a level of Aaron Donald where he's wrecking every single play he's in there and you have to send 2 guys at him, but he's certainly made a lot of strides. Next-gen stats, I saw a number where he's gotten pressures, I think 8 out of 78 pass rushes, which is about 10%, which puts him in the top 5 among defensive linemen in the NFL. And you're talking about a company with J.J. Watt and Melvin Ingram and Cameron Jordan and these very established
those
pass
are household
rushers.
Names.
Exactly. And, it's only been 3 games, so we have to make sure to pump the brakes a little bit. And I think the big thing with him has always been consistency, but he's clearly got the talent. I mean, we've all seen what he can do, and if he keeps it up, then all of a sudden you're not talking about a bust. You're talking about a guy that can impact games at defensive tackle, which when you have an elite player there, it's a very integral position on defense.
See, if we were talking about him as a rookie right now, then I would say pump the brakes, but I'm going full speed right now because I'm liking what I'm seeing and I need to see it every single week. And now he's shown he can do it. Now there's an expectation, that consistency to do it each and every week. Now, look, as far as the interior of the defensive line getting stats, sometimes it doesn't always show up on a number, but it's what the guys, whether it's Jones, Golden, whomever, Mayoa, or the guys in the secondary that you point out, Patrick Peterson getting an interception because the quarterback is rushing his throw because here comes the pressure, here comes the heat, I'm going to get hit, I got to get rid of the football. All of that plays, and if Kimdichie can maintain this level, then yeah, what you said, he's an excellent first-round pick, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, they got great value. He was a late-round pick. Right. They took a chance on him, and now it's paying off.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Jones and Mayoa, and now Marcus Golden is coming back, and it was very limited snaps, but if you start getting these guys playing off each other, getting consistent pressure, Mike, like what you said earlier, I completely agree, where the pressure rate is important. Sacks are nice, but they can be misleading at times. If you get there once and you get a sack, I'd much rather have a guy get 10 pressures than 1 sack. You always want to be at the quarterback. I think they did a really good job of that against the Bears. And like you said, Craig, the defensive front has talent. And if you get consistent pressure, I mean, that's the way to win defensively in the NFL.
All right, you were also doing some double duty. You're in the locker room, and you got a chance to talk to Deion Buchanan. Just from my perspective, we know this guy's an emotional player. He takes this serious. It's his life. How is he handling the situation where he's not getting playing time?
Yeah, I thought he handled it today incredibly well. First time I've spoken to him since he started getting these demotions the last couple of weeks, and you can just see, how much it means to him talking to him. He's, like you said, he's such a passionate guy. I'm not sure there's anybody else in the locker room that loves football as much as him. It just drives him. It always has. We've been around him for 5 years now, and he loves playing. But I think he made a really good point where he said, I love playing, but I love winning even more. And if that means that I'm not the guy that's supposed to be out there, if we go undefeated the rest of the year and I don't play a snap, I'm fine with that. That being said, he thinks he's a big reason why they will be successful moving forward. So he obviously wants to get back on the field. We'll see if that happens. I mean, you got Russell Wilson this week,
and they used to use a spy on him under Betcher and Todd Bowles. Now I don't know if you do it every down, but he was the guy that did that.
Yeah, and I mean, do you want him because he does have more athleticism than Bynes and Hodges, and maybe that gets him a role in this game. If he can do well, maybe he gets back in the rotation. So it's definitely something to watch. He obviously wants to be out there as much as he can, but he is definitely handling it very well.
Now, I'll say this. He doesn't get the credit there, only playing the 1 snap and then Reddick 4. He played 20 snaps on special teams. We sit in the press box, at least we do in the home games, and I zeroed in on him. You got to see the way he's going down there covering kicks and punts. I mean, he's not dogging it. I mean, not that I expected that from him, but, he feels like, when I'm on the field, I got to make a play. And watch him on special teams. He's become a really good special teams player.
Yeah, contribute any way you can.
That's the type of guy he is. I mean, he doesn't have an ego of a former first-round pick who's been a very high-level player in the NFL. Some guys would sulk and say, I'm not playing special teams. I'm a starter on defense. But like
that's how you're going to be active on game day.
Yeah. He's doing everything the coaches want, which is a really good sign.
Kyle's story on Dale Buchanan up on azcardinals.com. And, of course, if you missed any of the film room, for those listening on the podcast, just go to azcardinals.com/film room for the Robert Kimdichie strip sack that Corey Peters probably owes a dinner or a lunch to on the fumble recovery to Kimdichie, because I love the fact that you broke news on a Tuesday morning when you went in and discussed this.
And Corey Peters said, I thought about picking that up. Every single defensive lineman wants to return it for a touchdown. He said, I probably made the right decision.
Corey, you made the right decision.
He did score a touchdown in his career earlier. I guess with the Falcons, he said he got one.
Well,
so
how far was the pick up and go?
I didn't look it up, but I know he has one. He wanted to. Probably made the right call. There were quite a few Bears around him. I'm not sure he would have made it.
Kyle, we always appreciate it. We'll do it again next Wednesday inside the Arizona Cardinals Film Room. But before we get into your questions, get the Bird Gang to sound off here. #CardsCover2. #CardsCover2. Let's take a look back one last time and even spring forward ahead to Week 4 against the Seahawks as we go inside the numbers.
Inside the Numbers, presented by La Mesa RV, where you can experience life. The Cardinals led Sunday's game against the Bears for 53 minutes until Chicago scored the go-ahead points with less than 5 minutes remaining. It was the defense's best performance so far in 2018, holding the Bears to only 316 yards and 5 of 14 on third down. Josh Bynes and Budda Baker led the D with 10 tackles apiece, 2 of Baker's a tackle for loss. Chandler Jones recorded a sack, his 30th with the Cardinals. He became the fastest to 30 sacks in team history, having reached the milestone in his 35th game with the Cards. The Cardinals' offense was dynamic in the first quarter Sunday, then anemic for the final 3 quarters. Sam Bradford started the scoring with the Cards' longest play of the season so far, a 35-yard strike to Ricky Seals-Jones. David Johnson hauled in a 21-yard catch for his first receiving touchdown of the season. Johnson now has more touchdowns, 35, than any player in franchise history through their first 4 seasons. His teammate Larry Fitzgerald previously held the record at 34. Coming off the bench, rookie quarterback Josh Rosen completed 4 of 7 passes for 36 yards and an interception. Receiver Christian Kirk had the best game of his young career with 7 receptions for 90 yards, including a 32-yard catch in the fourth quarter. Arizona's next opponent, the familiar rival Seattle Seahawks. Last season, Seattle won in Arizona 22-16, while Big Red came out on top in the Seahawks' home 26-24. The Cardinals haven't beaten Seattle at State Farm Stadium since 2012.
And the home team hasn't won in this rivalry since 2014. It's very odd when you get the Cardinals and the Seahawks on the same field. The Cardinals do well up in Seattle. The Seahawks do well here in Arizona. It's really mind-boggling because home field advantage is supposed to be an advantage, and it's not, at least over the last 3 seasons in this rivalry.
Yeah, I remember a couple years ago, I want to say it was a Thursday night game, it was maybe the game that Catman missed the field goal.
You're talking about the tie?
Yeah.
I completely blocked that out of my memory.
But I think the University of Washington was coming here to play ASU. And so
on that Saturday,
yeah, it was just a lot of fans. But
they travel well.
It's mind-boggling because they have a really good home record, just like the Cardinals. Now, I think when you play a team twice a year, you're so familiar with each other, but they do travel pretty well. And it's really all comes down to Russell Wilson. I mean, his numbers, I think, ever since he's playing against the Cardinals, I want to say here 11/1 when it comes to touchdowns versus interceptions. So he's been successful. But again, you got to put some pressure on him. But yeah, it's just, I mean, you would think it'd be the opposite. You can take advantage of your home turf, and then up there, and they have a really good home record. I mean, we talked about how many games they started out. 3 of their first 4 games are on the road?
Yeah.
And what about end of season?
Like
that's 3 out of the 4?
Well, yeah, 3 of the 4 at home.
Yeah, so if they, and the main thing is, I think teams in the NFC, because it's loaded, you want to get to 9 or 10 wins. Okay, that's where you're going to be in the conversation. Now, it may take 10. And, I don't think a tie is going to help you because it's more like a loss versus a win. So it'll be interesting. But it is kind of mind-boggling that they've been successful here, and the Cardinals under Bruce Arians and Carson Palmer have been successful up there.
Yeah, let's hope that changes now with Josh Rosen in at quarterback, and they switch that home field advantage to an advantage here. Craig Grialou and Mike Jurecki. It is Cards Cover 2, live from the Cardinals facility in Tempe. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we join you 3 p.m. in the afternoon. We live stream on azcardinals.com/live video, and also find us on YouTube. Just search Cards Cover 2. And, of course, if you ever miss a show, download as a podcast via Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, SoundCloud, or TuneIn. We've been asking for it all show long. In fact, all day long. Let's have the Bird Gang sound off on this Wednesday. Get to your social media questions, and we'll start with Twitter. A user wants to know, do you think, MJ, the Cardinals are putting in Rosen too early as far as giving him his first start in Week 4?
All right, what do you think?
I thought they put him in. I was surprised they put him in on Sunday, but the fact that what happened Sunday, no, I'm not surprised.
They need a spark. If Bradford would have performed in the second and third quarter, besides the 2 interceptions and the fumble, I think they would have allowed him to finish the game. They need a spark. There's really no good time to do this. In the perfect scenario, you win 9-10 games with Bradford, and he sits and he learns, and next year he takes over. So you just can't predict this kind of stuff. I mean, I know all the national media said he should be starting in Week 1. We watched Bradford in preseason and training camp. He was the better quarterback. So there's no blueprint when he should play. It's just it happens, and here we are 3 weeks later, or in this case 4 weeks later, and he's the starting quarterback.
Well, we thought it was going to be because of an injury. Never in my wildest estimations did I think that the reason Rosen was going to play in 2018 is because of ineffectiveness, performance.
Very true.
From Bradford. That's the surprise for me. Twitter user wants to know, what are some effective ways to get Hassan Reddick and Dayon Buchanan involved on game day since they are both first-round picks? Would it be better to trade them if they aren't good enough to start?
I don't know if there's a market out there. You got to pick up their existing contract. Bucks making close to $9 million. I don't think they're ready to give up on. I mean, if they have an injury to Josh Bynes or Gerald Hodges, they're the next man up.
You need depth.
Yeah, I mean, and then people are going to question, well, they don't have a lot of depth. So you just got to let it play out. They're one play away from getting in the game, and Buck's a free agent after this year. They own Hassan Reddick. I mean, he is learning a new position. He played his entire career at Temple with his hand in the dirt. He's playing on teams also. So somehow, some way, they're going to find a role. But right now, they like the guys that they're playing.
We are sounding off here on Cards Cover 2. Let's check Instagram. We'll stay on the defense. Is Benet Ben-Wickery, a user wants to know, the starting cornerback over Jamar Taylor?
We don't know that because we don't watch practice. Wilkes did maintain on Monday that they're both going to alternate in practice. I think Ben-Wickery, because of what we discussed throughout the last couple of weeks, he's familiar with the defense. He's comfortable in the defense. It's not like they're going to bury Taylor. We know that Brandon Williams is only playing on special teams. They go a lot of 3 cornerbacks and 3 safeties. So, to me, I'd get Ben-Wickery out there, but I would not bury Jamar Taylor. I still think he can help this football team.
Back to Instagram. User wants to know, as we talk offense, how is the offense going to look different with Josh Rosen at quarterback?
Well, I think we kind of hit on a couple things. I think he's got a stronger arm. He's very accurate. He's more mobile. He's going to be able to check out a place. So if he sees something now, he doesn't have the experience of Sam Bradford. So curious to see. I think they're going to use him a little bit more in the mobility part and being able to extend plays with his legs. Obviously, you want him to throw the ball. You don't want him taking hits. But I think it's going to look a little bit different just from a standpoint of he's younger, he's quicker on his feet, and he's accurate throwing the deep ball.
Last question, Instagram. By the way, are you on Instagram?
I am.
Did you ask the show a question? Because this topic right here is something that you've been after for a while.
No.
Can we see Trent Sherfield in the wide receiver mix?
Oh, amen.
Are you sure you didn't email the hashtag the show? No,
I'll just bring it up on the show. Listen, I know that he turned a lot of heads. I know that they wanted to keep him over Bryce Butler and Greg Little. To me, he should be ahead of Chad Williams. I know Chad Williams is a third-round pick. They say they don't care how you get here. I think he can help this team. Now, I'm not saying you're going to target him 15 times in a game, but
give him an opportunity.
Yeah, if he gets on the field and you got Fitz, Kirk, and him, well, he's going to draw that third corner. And they don't have Richard Sherman. They don't have Cam Chancellor anymore. So I think, and to me, I've talked to him about this. He's keeping his head down, just waiting for the opportunity. But he is dressing on game day, and that's important.
Yeah, he is an important part of that special teams unit. We'll see if he can get on the field offensively, perhaps this week with Rosen as the quarterback. And that is the Bird Gang sounding off here on this Wednesday. We'll do it every show, and we'll do it again on Friday. Hashtag Cards Covered 2. Hashtag Cards Covered 2 using the number 2. Appreciate everyone's feedback here all afternoon long. And before we get out of here on a Wednesday, real fast, congratulations to Queen Creek's Travis Sherman and Basha wide receiver, defensive back kicker Ty Sifferman. They've been named this week's Arizona Cardinals Coach and Player of the Week, respectively. Queen Creek is 5-1, and Sifferman, by the way, MJ, probably back in your football days, caught 12 passes, threw a touchdown pass on a trick play, had a key fourth-quarter interception, and kicked a 42-yard field goal. All in a day's work.
No? Do you know I threw a no-hitter in Little League?
That I did not know.
But I walked 5 guys, and we lost.
Wait a second. Yeah. How do you lose throwing a no-hitter? You know how
rare
rare that is?
I was wild.
Did you walk? Did you walk in a run or two?
I did.
That's okay. That's funny. Sorry, I don't mean to.
Pass ball, man.
Are you over it, by the way? Have you moved past it?
Yeah, I've moved on, but I'm just saying I can say I threw a no-hitter, but then there's details behind it.
Yeah, leave off the details. We like details, but in this case, leave off the details. That's going to cover this edition of Cards Cover 2. Special thanks behind the scenes to Tim Delaney, Jim Omohundro, Devin Henry, Jeremy Schnell, plus Grant Greeley, Jonathan Hayward, Brandon Natus, Jesse Aranda, and Jackson Sipes. For my partner, Mike No-Hitter Jurecki, I'm Craig Grialou. We'll talk to you again on Friday when we deep dive into the matchup Cards and Seahawks in Week 4. We'll talk to you on Friday afternoon.